So here I am down at the strip of Las Vegas, and it's going to be a great day. Get a chance to see a little bit more of the Boring Company and some of their operations, putting in the tunnels that are going to be connecting all throughout this entire area. And it's just kind of a great opportunity to be able to see that, and I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully with the images that we're able to see and some of the details and maybe new information that we've learned, it will be very helpful to you. So anyway, right now I'm at the kind of the New York skyline here in downtown Las Vegas, and let's look around and see some other sights while I'm here.
So what are things to do here in Las Vegas? Let's take a look.
Maybe you want to check out a room here at the Bellagio. Maybe even try your hand with the casinos here too. It goes without saying that it is definitely magical here in Las Vegas. You could come visit a giant Ferris wheel. Maybe you want to visit Caesar Palace. You can come to the World Series of Poker and try your hand. Want to pretend like you're in Paris? Maybe you just want a large bottle of Coke. You can come here and charge next to the Ferris wheel. Of course, there's plenty of food and souvenirs from your time here in Las Vegas. What is coming to Las Vegas without trying out the casinos? They're everywhere. Good luck. Hotel lobbies like none other. Of course, you could always pretend like you're here at New York City, see the skyline behind me, and take a roller coaster around the downtown. It's all a part of being here in Las Vegas.
Well, I had a little bit of fun putting those clips together, and I hope that you enjoyed it too. There is a lot to see and do here at Las Vegas. Of course, that's why everybody does come here from all over the world. If you were on the Strip, this is kind of the views that you would have. While I was here, I got some thoughts about the Boring Company that I wanted to share and kind of lead up to our visit, which is coming up.
Now, one of the things that I think that the Boring Company brings to Las Vegas and maybe a lot of other cities is the fact that you intermix a lot of pedestrian traffic with road traffic. And here in Las Vegas, they have these overpasses, a lot of stairs, a lot of escalators, a lot of crossing back and forth over the streets. And trying to get from one end to the other, especially at night when it's really, really busy, it can be kind of difficult. Plus, once you get here, you got to find parking. And if you haven't been paying attention to the news lately, Las Vegas is quite expensive. Everything is expensive, whether it's hotels, whether it's rental cars, whether it's restaurants, parking spaces, a lot of the attractions. You're going to be spending a lot of money, and if you can avoid some of that by not having to find a parking space and getting closer to the locations that you want to be, then the Boring Company and their tunnel system really does help out. And over time, as they continue to expand out their service, it'll really help connect a lot more of the various attractions and the places that you want to be here in Las Vegas. So to me, just looking around, walking around, just seeing kind of the feel of the city and how you get around, having a tunnel system underneath all of this and avoiding all of this traffic that you could see around here. And even though this is an early morning on a Saturday, you can just imagine what it's going to be like. So another great example of using verticality, in this case underground, to help with traffic and try to get rid of some of that kind of the difficulty of getting around. Now, something that does stand out here in Las Vegas is there is a lot of construction that is underway, and it also is next to some pretty busy streets, or almost like highways in the middle of the city. And if you're going to be getting down to the Strip, you're going to have to deal with this kind of traffic as well. And having a different way of getting around Las Vegas certainly seems like a great idea to me.
All right, so that's my time at the Strip and some of my thoughts about the Boring Company and how it could help with the pedestrian traffic, also the vehicular traffic and construction. So I don't have my drone, but we'll use Google Earth. I'm going to fly across the city not too far away, and we're going to get to where the current operations are for the Boring Company. And this is a great kind of bird's eye view. You can see the tunnel boring machine and all of the various items that are stored nearby in that lot. Of course, the main structure is their operations building. They have the fleet of the Vegas Loop vehicles here where they do the maintenance and servicing, and there's a lot of other details. So let's take a closer look.
And right behind me is the main boring company headquarters, or at least where their operations are here in Las Vegas. And this is where I'm going to be meeting
Matt Weber,
who has invited me to tour around their site, see some of their operations, and hopefully I'll get a chance to share at least a good portion of it with you. But here we are down at the Boring Company in Las Vegas.
So this is what it looks like as you're going through the visitor entrance to the operations or the control center here at the Boring Company. And I was met by Matt Weber. This is the inside. They have kind of the liner behind me here, kind of set up as a kind of a place to sit and look around. They have a lot of other displays throughout this area as well. Unfortunately, wasn't able to take too many more pictures of this part, but I am able to kind of discuss a little bit more about their operations. Now, in this facility is the control center for the Vegas Loop, and this image is an example. This isn't the actual one. I wasn't able to take video there, but this gives you an idea of what it looks like. There are screens on the walls, control consoles. There's two people that were working there while the loop is open. They can have direct access to first responders as necessary, of course, all of the drivers, and they can control pretty much every operation that is going on with the Vegas Loop here in this center. Now, they do have an alternate location in case there is some reason that this center was not operational, so they have that backup as well. So I think at this point, it's probably good to talk about what the Vegas Loop actually is and how it functions. Now, it was originally put on contract for the convention center, and these are the loop trips, as you can see. Also, you can purchase tickets, whether it's a single ride or day pass, and these are the prices. This is what the convention center looks like, and this was the first part of the entire boring tunnel network, which is becoming the Vegas Loop. This is what that original size and map of the loop looked like, and it's still in operation today. This is the active part, but this map here gives you a great idea of the extent of all of the tunneling and all of the various sites that are going to be added to the Vegas Loop over the next several years. And as I'm pointing out with the arrow, that is the operational section. This orange loop is the one that is currently being dug, and it's connecting from the north, the central station, all the way down to the airport. Now, when I was talking to Matt, it became clear that terminology is important to understand the operations here. The Vegas Loop is this network of tunnels. It was contracted and is run by the Boring Company. It was to originally support the convention center. It is now having a 68-mile expansion for public access, and it's going to connect much of the city. And this is a separate project, but part of the Boring Company. Now, you may have heard of LVCC. That's the Las Vegas Convention Center, and this is one of the largest convention facilities in the world, and it is owned and operated by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, or LVCVA. This is a very large facility, and it has that unique underground Vegas Loop that supports all of this particular facility. And this is the beginning of that expansion that is going on around the city. The LVCVA is the government agency that initially contracted the Boring Company to build the Vegas Loop, and it has helped with the overall expansion, working with many private funded operations, such as several resorts around the area, and they are working with other private companies to further expand the entire Vegas Loop. And of course, the Boring Company is responsible for tunnel construction and also designing and building the machines and the underground tunnel systems, also known as loops. And they have some custom excavation and other techniques that they are continuing to iterate on. And of course, they also, as a subsidiary, they run the Vegas Loop. So bottom line, just to keep it straight, the Boring Company is the construction company. The Las Vegas Loop is that specific large-scale project. And the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority is the government agency responsible for contracting and building and expanding the entire system. And the LVCC is the convention center of which the Vegas Loop supports. I know it can be a little bit confusing, and I think it's just important to go through that terminology as we continue in with the video. Now, a couple of things about the Boring Company and the tools that they use that is important in what Matt and I discussed. And part of it has to do with the porpoising technique as illustrated here with this image. And what that does is it allows them to be able to have the boring machine enter, dig the tunnel, and exit without having to dig these very large pits into the ground. And here in this video, you can see that porpoising action as the tunnel boring machine comes out of the ground. Now, the other innovation that they have is they use something called the Monster, which is kind of this system that will pick up the boring machine and then it will allow it to be moved with truck or self-propelled modular transporters. Now, this was designed in no small part to the experiences that they had here at Las Vegas. And the critical part of this is that they're able to do all of this construction near hotels and established infrastructure without having to do a lot of disruption after the tunneling has been completed and then they have to clean up or when they prepare for the tunneling to begin. Here's some really great shots of the Monster picking up the tunnel boring machine and getting ready for it to be moved off of the current location and head to the next one so that additional tunnel boring can commence. Now, the Boring Company has also been working on some key capabilities, one of which is Z-Pit, which is zero people in the tunnel. And this has been something they've been iterating on and perfecting. The basic idea is to automate as much of the tunnel operation as possible and reduce or eliminate the need for people within the tunnel boring machine itself. And one of the other critical capabilities that they're working on with tunneling is something called continuous tunneling. That is to try to accelerate the tunneling process by not having to stop and do a lot of maintenance and doing a lot of other work that would delay or postpone the amount of tunneling they can do. And by having that continuous tunneling, they're able to reduce the cost and greatly accelerate the project speed. Now, they've been iterating on their tunnel boring machines. Those are called Proofrock, and Proofrocks number 1, 2, and 3 are being used in Las Vegas right now. This Proofrock 4 is one of the newest ones, and that's back in Texas being used for some of the tunneling operation there. And they are also working on Proofrock 5 and 6 at their facility in Bastrop, Texas. And this is, the systems that they are building, and they're one of the only, if not the only, manufacturing plants in the United States to build tunnel boring machines. Now, because of this and the fact that they don't have a high production rate, it's limiting how much they can do with all of the various tunnel projects that they are picking up. The Music City Loop project, which is started in Nashville and is underway, is not going to be using a Proofrock tunnel boring machine. Part of that is because it's a different soil and the type of tunneling that they're going to need to do, but also it's just because they don't have enough of their Proofrock machines, so they're going to be using a third-party one for that particular tunnel operation. Now, what Matt tells me is that the Boring Company is really keen on refining the final designs of the Proofrock, and hopefully they're going to be able to pivot into more mass production of tunnel boring machines to help accelerate all of their projects that they are taking on, including the one here in Las Vegas. Now, while I was in the operations center, I was able to take a picture of this. This is the electric locomotive. This is their original one, and it runs on rails. And the point of this is to drive into the tunnel, bring the tunnel liners. Those are the concrete sections that make the actual tunnel walls. And it would bring it in and deliver it, and then they would be installed. And now this is a very old style and ancient kind of technology. They have iterated on their tunnel liner machines, and now they have wheels and they ride on the sides of the tunnels, and they make it so much easier, and it works with that Z-Pit technology. Interestingly enough, the original tunnel boring machine was called the Godot, and part of it is still here on the material staging yard next to their facility. This is actually the cutting head from that original tunnel boring machine, and this is on display at the LVCC South Station. So if you take the Vegas Loop and you come out at the South Station, you'll be able to come over and take a look at this. It's kind of a neat piece of history that the Boring Company is displaying for the public. Now, just outside the Op Center is where they have all the Tesla vehicles. You can see that they have this kind of trailer on the back of some of them. That is for scooters that are used around Las Vegas pretty regularly. This is where they do all of the charging and maintenance of their fleet. Now, Matt pointed out one of the features of driving in the Vegas Loop and using the Boring Company vehicles is that there is a order screen integrated directly on the Tesla screen where you can order food, and it's associated with the hotel that you are at. You can scan the QR code and place your order, and when you arrive, then you could just go right ahead and get your food. And there's other options that they have as well. I thought this was pretty neat. Now, I did notice something. If you look at the arrow here, it says the front camera visibility is reduced. Now, I asked Matt about that, and it's kind of an interesting reason. They have the front cameras disabled, and one of the reasons why is that they're finding out that the camera system on the Teslas, especially if trying to use full self-driving, has problems because they're driving through tunnels all the time and the cameras go out of calibration. This is one of the reasons why we don't see the autonomous driving through the boring tunnels right now. And perhaps this is something they'll work on in the future, but there are some constraints as well that they're going to have to work through that are a little bit unique to the boring tunnels.
Sign into these to start their shift, and that's how we can ensure that they're fully meant to be here, they're on the schedule today, they're in compliance with all the latest training, they're in good standing. Otherwise they won't be able to sign into the Model X's and one Cybertruck.
Okay, 116 Model Ys?
Yeah, well, 116 total cars.
Total cars, okay.
8 Ys, 7 X's, and 1 Cybertruck.
So you're not just a boring company or a tunnel manager, you're a fleet manager.
It's a big part of it, yeah. Yeah, keeping them clean, and keeping an eye on the weather, keeping them charged. And then, you know, we need them to smell good and all that as well.
Well, speaking of which, what do you do for charging? Do you have chargers in the tunnels or near the tunnels?
No, so just at the warehouse there, we have about 35 or so chargers. So a little less than somewhere around the third one time.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we just kind of have a constant rotation to keep them charged. There are superchargers available. These aren't ours, but they're Teslas, of course.
Okay.
And we can use those if we need to, but typically we just are able to charge in our warehouse.
All right. Well, very cool.
So we're heading through the parking lot here, and we'll enter the loop right there at the south hall of the convention center.
So is your new headquarters more of a permanent thing?
I believe so for Vegas, yeah. I think we'll be there for the foreseeable future. It's pretty centrally located and close to the airport. Turning the loop here. So it's scanning my car, checking, who's in it, am I approved, and then the gate will open up and in I go. And then right here, any car that pulls in, they have to go through that gate. But if someone were to piggyback right behind the tailgate,
right,
get in, we have a camera that's reading every license plate that enters the loop, and if we detect one that's not in our database, we play an alert in the station, alerts our station attendant here, and then also alerts our control center. But most importantly, we'll close that secondary gate, preventing cars from getting into the tunnel.
Have you ever had that issue?
So it can happen occasionally where people start to enter in here, but getting into the tunnel is much more difficult. So we have some folks maybe get near the station, but never anything malicious. Just confused Uber drivers, confused Lyft.
And you said all the murals here were at the request of the convention center?
Yep, it's their property, so they had murals painted there.
That's very cool.
So obviously in the tunnel now, we're almost 40 feet below the surface.
Okay. What speed do you normally travel here?
Yeah, so in the straightaway, the speed limit is 40 miles an hour. So as we hit this straightaway here, I'll speed up a bit.
Okay. So this is the speed that if I were just a passenger, I would be expecting?
Yep.
Okay. what's the idea of the different color lights? Just ambiance?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can do any combination of colors. Now, certain lights have a meaning. So red light is this all stop. There's a flashing light for evacuations, an amber light for caution. But other than that, we can do any static or dynamic color. We just find people like the dynamic colors best. Drivers like it, the passengers like it.
Okay.
And we'll stop here on the way back, but we'll go through one end and the other.
So these stations, not only is for passengers to get in and out, but it would be also maybe in the future for you to have different tunnel like branches.
It could be, yeah. I don't think that'd be the case for this one.
Okay.
But yeah, certainly any station can function as a future kind of connection point, a node for future connections.
Well, I don't know if this is something that would come up, but like in that station there, could you, if you wanted to, add another tunnel in there?
You could. We almost did kind of with the Encore connection, but it's a function of deciding what's more effective. Do you want to add one there, which would cause some downtime for that station, or like temporarily we have one now on the surface there, so people can drive to that area on the surface and then transfer, go down and get a new car. And that's just until our airport tunnel to the west gate is open, because then that'll circumvent needing to transfer at that station. A little hard to explain without looking at a map, but
right. Well, that airport tunnel, when is it supposed to be operational?
So the first one, the digging is done. Now we start the build out phase. Hard to say, but probably my guess would be the next 4 to 8 months, something like that.
Okay. Very
so
cool.
Up to West Station here. These 8 stalls on the left we always use. These 10 stalls on the right, we kind of use those in a flex capacity. So when we're very busy, we'll open those up and have folks get on or off over there.
Okay.
So to your point earlier, this station initially just had these tunnels to the left, but we dug then this tunnel and this ramp on the right there.
Okay.
And we'll go this way so I can point out how we use our porpoise tunnel.
All right. So are all these kind of railings, are these just temporary?
Yeah, because today, again, a move-in day for this convention, so they put a lot of rails and cones and things out, because there's going to be trucks and forklift scooters like this one going around. Things look quite a bit different on a move-in day versus a busy convention day where we're moving 10,000 people.
So Las Vegas Convention Center, that's where the LVCC comes from.
Yep.
And as you were saying, the LVCC is actually technically a different company from the Boring Company.
So the LVCC is the convention center.
Right.
Vegas Loop is a
Vegas Loop. Okay.
Yeah. And Vegas Loop operates the tunnels, the cars, the drivers. But yeah, LVCC is just the convention center.
Okay, and then as you got to the gate, the car automatically communicates with the gate and tells it to open up. Yep. So you don't have to do, or the driver doesn't have to do anything.
Correct. Yeah. Neither does the control center. It's all automatic.
All right.
And then I'll stop here just to point out, this is the first tunnel we ever dug with porpoising. And you can really see the tunnel comes up to the surface there.
Right.
As opposed to driving down a ramp, entering the tunnel. This one comes right up to the surface.
All right, well, cool. And the porpoising was an innovation that you did to try to make tunneling a lot, less disruptive to the locations that you have the tunnels.
Exactly, yep. So I think we'll go to Westgate first, then we'll go over to Resorts Road. So Westgate's behind us now. So here we're coming up to kind of like a merge and a temporary, like to your point, like a junction area between tunnels.
All right, and so the reason why I was asking is that the tunnel design as it is kind of like straws. They go from point A to point B, but branching off, you can't really branch off with the tunnel itself. You need to have a junction point.
Yeah, generally, that's correct. And it's a challenge, of course, as we go forward. It's a planning challenge. If you plan everything correctly, you can certainly overcome it. But you need nodes, I guess, between the straws to make new connections and new routes.
All right. So this surface that we're driving on, is this the liner surface or is this the aggregate and asphalt?
This is with the liner. Those road panels here. And then you'll notice the lights are on the surface in this tunnel. There are a few reasons why they stay cleaner on the top.
Okay.
They have no risk of getting hit by a tire, of a vehicle, which doesn't happen often, but it can happen. And then just doing pressure washing, cleaning the tunnels, they stay dry and safe. But we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if we go back to being in the bottom, but for now we're trying tunnels on our lights on the top.
You mentioned pressure washing. Do you often have to clean them?
Not really. Once a quarter I think is our current plan.
Okay.
And I'll point out here, this is where our most recent tunnel popped up. This is the tunnel that starts at our place near the airport.
Cool.
It just broke through here a week ago or so.
Awesome. Were we able to go out and look at that, or?
I don't think we can see this one, but we will have a good sight coming up here.
Looks like there's a tram or something above us.
Yeah, that's the Las Vegas Monorail.
Oh, okay. Now, are you kind of limited as far as how much space on the surface you're allowed to use for your construction?
It's all case by case. In some cases, like Riviera Station, we were just in a big empty parking lot. We could really kind of do what we needed to do.
Okay.
But here at Westgate, they certainly work with us, but they don't want us to take up all their space. They don't want a construction site visible to all their guests. So we try to be careful. That's why, for instance, we're on the back side of this thing, so the construction site's not visible to guests, and we try to keep our footprint as small as possible, as clean and quiet as possible.
And you were saying when we were talking earlier that right now, especially for the convention center loop, is passengers just arrive and then they head off to where they're going.
Yeah.
So there's not really an app or a kiosk or anything that they have to use.
Right. Yeah. They can go online ahead of time, but the vast majority of people just show up to the station and purchase a ticket if they even need one right there.
Very cool.
And yeah, you'll notice you still have cell service in the tunnel. That's provided by these antenna.
Okay.
Antenna in the tunnel. In the older tunnels, they use a coax cable on the top, but in the newer tunnels, they have those antennas there.
Okay.
And then I'll point them out more in our next tunnel. But these road markers here, these blue reflectors, that's where there's a wet standpipe under the road. So those are spaced every 160 feet, I want to say.
So the structure that we're in here, this is just it's an open top excavated down and then fabricated with concrete and then filled back over?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, you got it exactly. Yep.
So why is there a red light here? What is this telling us?
We're going into a bi-directional tunnel now. So at Resorts World, to start, we have a single tunnel. Cars go one way. Once the last car's cleared, cars go the other way.
Okay.
So we had to wait, a couple seconds there as the last car cleared out. And they probably went up the tunnel in the other direction, so we'll never actually see them. But yeah, now we've got the green light. We're going to head towards Resorts World.
So why did you use a bi-directional tunnel in this one location?
Well, so we start, right, to start you dig one tunnel, and then we had kind of two options. We could wait until a second tunnel was complete, or we could start operating right away.
Okay.
And our bias is always going to be towards start right away.
Right.
So we started operating right away with a single tunnel to Resorts World. And we're still working with them on exactly where and how the second tunnel will connect and come back. But this bi-directional tunnel has worked just fine for them. I think it works well because in the morning you have folks go from the hotel to the convention center. In the evening they go back. We don't see a huge demand at the same time to go back and forth. So
that's very interesting. We were talking about different locations in the future and how you will manage the fleet and where you pre-position, but you're seeing directional flow of people that's fairly predictable.
Yeah, and
that's cool.
And that'll vary as we expand. But yeah, here around the convention center, it's pretty predictable. We've gotten a couple years of history under our belt now, so we're able to pretty reliably say when and where people will ride.
Yeah. Okay.
So we just crossed under Las Vegas Boulevard, under the Strip. Now we're at Resorts World Hotel.
Very cool.
So as they were building their property, they kind of saved this little area of blank space for us.
Okay.
And it started out very austere, but they've added color, some lights, some signage, some things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've been inside Resorts World, but a very nice property. It's just right up through those glass doors there. They've got a beautiful globe display, really cool and really a good marker to know where you are and how to get to the loop. You can tell people go to the globe display and go downstairs.
Cool. Well, I just thought of something there. As there's new construction here, more resorts and casinos, whatever, is there a plan to work with you to set aside space for the tunnels?
Yep. And we're pretty aggressive. I mean, luckily, people approach us as well, but we're pretty aggressive in making sure any new endeavors that come online, the ballpark, for example, things like that we're involved in that process, that they're aware that, hey, this might be a good spot for the loop. Should we consider adding a loop station, things like that?
Okay. And build it, and then later on you can come in and put a tunnel in with your porpoising and using the monster to extract it?
Yep, we can always come in later, but it's certainly easiest if you can plan ahead and do that. And so we typically the flow, I would stop there, drop a passenger off, and wait till I get a new passenger. Obviously, we're doing the tour, so we didn't stop. But because of that, we'll have cars coming this way now, and then once the last one is clear, we'll get the green light and go back that way.
Yeah, well, going back on that construction a little bit, I think that is definitely an advantage to the Boring Company's methodology of how you've developed that porpoising and easy extraction, and not having to use big pits to do the construction of the tunnel. It makes it a lot easier to deal with existing infrastructure.
Yeah, certainly. Yep. Yeah, it's impossible to move water lines or things like that. At least impossible on our time scales. We move pretty quickly. So the nimbleness of the machine, the ability to porpoise, and the ability to have just a small surface footprint during launch and retrieval is really key to our success in such an urban environment. Right.
Now, we also earlier we were talking about like easements and property rights and all that, and it essentially goes from the surface to the center of the earth. So you have to work around that as you are planning out the tunnels.
Yep. And so on that map, you see our alignment calls for mostly staying under public right-of-way. So streets, railroads, freeways, things like that. Obviously, our partner properties allow us an easement to come onto their property, and we have many partners up and down the strip, so that helps quite a bit as well. For example, where there's contiguous Caesars properties, we can go under Caesars property with their permission. UNLV with a big campus, with their permission, we can go anywhere under their property within reason. So.
Okay, and is that pretty much the standard model that you would use in anywhere that you would be doing tunneling?
Yep. At least in the United States. I'm not sure if that differs elsewhere, but at least in the United States.
Well, that's pretty cool. It also, I guess, helps with like maps and figure out where you're going. If you have a surface infrastructure, the tunnels are right underneath that.
Yep. And I just slow down here to point out that yellow buggy in there. That's something we share with the Clark County Fire Department.
Okay.
So that's kind of their go buggy. So it's that's what they would use if they needed to just jump in and address any issue in the tunnel that they come across.
Now, it's been hard to see as we've been driving through the tunnel, but to every certain distance, there's kind of like a emergency exit that's built into the walls of the tunnel. And, I think that's pretty cool. People ask about, safety or what happens in the tunnel, and you have ways of getting out other than the entrance and the exit.
Yeah, so any tunnel above a certain length, call it maybe roughly half a mile, will have a place of refuge and emergency egress shaft. So throughout the tunnel, there's fire suppression under the road where those blue reflectors are. There are blue light call boxes that connect anyone who presses that button into our control center automatically. And then, as we'll come up on here in a moment, there is one of those egress shafts to be able to exit the tunnel on foot if needed. Here it is now.
Okay, very cool. And it's just sort of a structure that's built in adjacent to the tunnel and then connects into the liners on that side.
Yeah. Nothing too fancy there, but gets you out and up.
I'll tell you, I'm glad you know where you're going, because there's so many different choices of where we could turn.
It seems like it, but once you get the hang of it and understand the flow, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So what is the idea of painting all of this black in these transfer tunnels?
We as the Boring Company name implies, we are fairly boring with black, white, and gray. Those are kind of our main colors. And white, it's just always tough to keep in. So we decided on black. Black surface, black walls, white tunnels, and then of course we put the lights on. And then the ramps you'll see are gray. So tunnels are white, ramps are gray, and rooms and that are black.
All right.
I should point out here, we just went past the ramp up to West Station.
Okay.
It used to be that we had to drive up to the station, snake through the station, and come back down every trip. We actually came back to dig this tunnel just to be able to bypass that station, because it's a better guest experience for folks in the car like yourself.
Right.
It's also a better guest experience for anyone on the surface who saw a car come up. They assume it's for them, only for it to drive right past them.
Right, yeah.
So it seems like a small thing, but being able to bypass stations that are not your destination does cause a big improvement in guest experience, and frankly, driver experience as well, not having to pop up into the sunlight, drive slowly just to come back down. So a much better experience, and that's kind of our rule of thumb going forward. You bypass any station that's not your destination.
Yeah, well, again, we were talking a little bit earlier before I started filming, but gaining all these kinds of experiences is what's been key for the Boring Company, so that in the future you will be able to plan and execute a lot better.
Yep. we've certainly learned a lot. We weren't a perfect system from day one, and it's still not perfect, but man, to see the progress we've made, the changes, the improvements in safety, efficiency, things like that, it's been a night and day change over the last couple of years. I think we can stop here for a moment.
Okay.
Out and I'll point out a few things and some good photo ops here as well.
Sounds good. So where are we here?
We're in the central station of Vegas, right underneath the north, central, and south. So this is kind of our flagship station, our busiest station. On a busy day, we'll do 5,000 to 10,000 passengers through this station alone. There's, I think, a lot that's notable about it. For one, we've got the lights, we've got the music, good temperature in here. And then a few things to point out, the stalls, for example, are in what's known as a sawtooth pattern. That allows as many cars as possible to pull in and pull out without needing to back up. You could fit more cars if you park like you do at the supermarket, but then those cars have to back up to change forward. Okay. So that just kind of has maximum efficiency in mind. So we expect 180 passengers per hour per stall to be able to transit through here. And this has 10 stalls, so 1,800 passengers an hour. Wow. It's kind of our rule of thumb. We certainly can do more than that and have, but that's a good rule of thumb for throughput for a given stall or station. And then I think notably there's a U-turn at each end of this station. So it's not like a train that has to go to the end of the line before it goes back the other direction. You can just U-turn and go right back to it. Okay. And then a few other key things, I think. The roof in here is really overbuilt, and there's a few reasons why. That's because, number one, there's a parking lot above us, but they also use that as outdoor exhibit space. So for big military surplus conventions or mining conventions, they've got heavy equipment parked up there. But even more importantly, we wanted this to be a column-free space. So there's no columns down here. Passengers can see clearly, they can see the signs. If you get very busy down here, we don't want it to feel any more crowded than it used to. So keeping it column-free is a big thing for us. And then also because of the column-free nature, our emergency plans play into that. So if for whatever reason one tunnel is down for maintenance or something like that, I don't think we've had to operate this way in reality, but as our plans call for, we can have cars drive across this platform and access one tunnel by direction.
Okay.
Because of that, a lot of these stations are magnetic and can just be moved out of the way. That allows us a lot of flexibility in this space. Let's see, what else can I say? I think you see our stall assignments here. Those kind of tell people where to go, but unlike a train or bus, you can't get on the wrong train or the wrong vehicle going the wrong way. As long as you can express your intended destination to the driver, then they'll get you where you want to go. Those are kind of a guideline to help people coalesce themselves. If we tell 3 strangers to go to any stall, which they could do, it'll then take us 3 cars to get those people to their destination. But if we tell them all to go to a specific stall, they're much more likely to ride together in a single car to take all 3 of those people to their destination.
I guess that's the question is, say if I just show up by myself, there's a car and 2 other people are in it, can I just get in it too?
Yeah, definitely. We never force people to ride together, of course.
Okay.
But we're told, hey, stall in car number, or the car in stall number 7 is going to South Station, so anyone going to South Station can ride it. And if you feel like jumping in with some strangers, you totally can. If you prefer to wait, the next car will be up in a few seconds.
Awesome. Well, thanks for this tour and driving through the tunnel, and I guess we're going to see a little bit more, and we'll get back in the car.
Sounds good, yeah.
All right, awesome.
So if you arrived here at Central Station, you would take the escalators up to the ground level where you would see the convention center and also where more of the boring tunnel entrances are located. And as you can tell by the depth here, we're pretty far underneath the ground. Now, Matt told me that most of the tunnels are about maybe 3 to 4 meters below the ground, but others are as much as 20 meters, especially if they have to go underneath another tunnel, which is the case in some of them. Of course, when you get up to the top, this gives you a map of the loop so you know where you're at.
There's a loop connects to Encore through here, and of course a lot of construction going on even on the surface, as you can see as they continue to build out Las Vegas.
And you'll pop out over at Encore. And the second tunnel is being built just next to it, more or less in parallel. So it also joins a junction underground that connects to the airport, back to Westgate, and that'll be the main through here in the future.
Okay.
That's what will connect all these underground roads. Right now, it's a separate system.
Right. Now we were talking about the airport one. The interesting thing is just trying to work on that last half-mile delivery. So the tunnel is going to be coming out out of the surface, but then there will be boring tunnel vehicles, the looped vehicles, taking you to the airport and picking you up
and
as
you don't
well.
transfer vehicles or anything. You just drive up, exit, and then continue on.
And Matt just mentioned the airport. I want to show you a little bit about that. You can see by the map here, that circle showing you where the tunnel that he referenced here exits, and it's down near the north part of the airport. Using my Google Maps, instead of the drone, try to give you a view of where this tunnel operation is currently. Now this is going to be exiting onto the surface here as part of a station, although it is to support the airport. Now you may wonder, well, how do you get to the airport from this surface location? Well, that's a pretty good question. Now, because of some of the rules and some of the guidelines that Nevada and the FAA has given them, they have to come up with a different solution. So if you were using the Vegas Loop and you're going to the airport, it would exit here out of the surface, and then you would be driven on the surface in the Boring Company cars over to the airport for drop-off and pickup. And it would be seamless. You don't have to get out of the car. You just stay in the tunnel, and then you go to the airport. This ground level view gives you kind of an idea of what it looks like today. And as I pan around, you'll see some of the very familiar items that we've seen before. The belt cassette in the middle of the screen, which is what takes the dirt out of the tunnels. Some of the grout silos. And of course, with the airplane coming up out of the sky here, you can get a good sense of how close to the airport that we actually are. Now, this does give us sort of an interesting question about using autonomous vehicles, Teslas, and the Boring Tunnel. I already mentioned that there was a problem with the cameras, but there are other issues as well. Real quick, this is a shot just showing Google Earth of where the Boring Tunnel exits. The main runway off to the right, and of course going over to the terminal, and you can get a good sense of how close it is. But anyway, going back to those self-driving cars, there's a lot of other issues that they need to work out first before they could use full self-driving vehicles within the tunnels, and that may be some time to come. And I get a chance to talk to some of the Tesla people up at Giga Texas during the big delivery event, and pointed this out as well. Maybe that will help spawn some sort of discussion. But anyway, they have some issues that they're going to have to work out, some technical issues before they would be able to use the autonomous vehicles. Certainly, it'll be a big issue here going to the airport. All right, let's get back into the imaginary drone using Google Earth, and let's fly almost due north all the way back to where Matt and I were discussing at Central Station near the Convention Center. And this gives you a great idea of where this is located within the city from the airport location.
All right, so we call this structure on top of the tunnels the igloo. And like you were just talking about, it's where they have the ventilation systems, camera systems. They have that gate that can close it off, and just some other kind of backup machinery that kind of encloses that beginning and the entrance or the ending of the tunnels. That's very cool. And also they have kind of displays out at each of the stations. Like here we have a liner ring, and some of them they have cutter heads and maybe some other stuff at some point in the future, but pretty cool.
Well, if you caught that, Matt said that the covering structure is called the igloo. And so that got me thinking that the Cyber Tunnel here, the berthing tunnel for the Cybertrucks at Giga Texas, must actually be the Cyber Igloo. And this is what it looks like if you haven't seen it. Of course, this is what the Cybertrucks use to come from the factory under the highway to the west side.
Okay, now you said that the monorail and the LVCC is controlled by the same entity?
Yeah.
So they're more of a companion than they are competitors, and they help move a lot of people down here in at least the convention center area of Las Vegas, and probably more parts of Las Vegas as things continue to build out. But pretty cool. You know, the most important thing is to move people as quickly as possible and get them to the hotels, the casinos, the shows, and raise that revenue.
And here's just a different angle of what it looks like coming up through the tunnel and entering into this location at the convention center. And this particular one, there's a little bit more people. It kind of gives you an idea of what the activity level would be like on a more normal day, but you can see there's still a lot of construction going on here, and that kind of complicates a little bit of the surface part of this area right now, and hopefully that construction will be done pretty quickly. Now we get back into the escalator, we head back down into the central station area. This is what it would look like if you're approaching in for your Vegas loop trip. You can see the kiosk directly ahead. This is where you would scan your ticket, or you could do the QR code, and you also have a Boring Company representative there to help you if you need it. All right, let's get back into the car and let's do some more trips through the tunnel and listen to what Matt has to say. He's got a lot of great information that we discuss during our travels through the tunnels.
Right away.
So actually that is an interesting question. Talking about using the Tesla vehicles here, is your maintenance overall has been pretty low except for some suspension issues caused by having to do tight turns.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't even say issues necessarily, just you have parts that wear faster and some parts that wear slower than you would have on your own personal Tesla. So obviously something we're aware of. We have on regular schedules to change things, monitor things on a regular basis. We do a daily inspection on every vehicle that goes out to the loop, and then we have the monthly, annual inspections for the bigger ticket items of the vehicles.
Yeah, well, I would imagine that the use of the Teslas and the tunnels works well because they're electric cars. You probably couldn't do this with regular cars.
Yeah, it'd be a lot more challenging. We'd have to have ventilation. The electric cars, just the cars themselves moving through the tunnel causes a decent amount of airflow through the tunnel, so you don't have to worry about fumes, things like that. It's just
going back to what we were talking earlier about having to clean the tunnels, is I would imagine that also helps keep the need for cleaning down too.
Yep. We'll get some dust storms and things like that here, so that's about it. We don't have to do deep cleanings, but just to like a kind of a once-over pressure wash, or we'll run a street sweeper through the tunnel every so often. But for the most part, the fact that they're underground and with limited openings keeps them pretty clean.
Yeah. Well, ironically, one of the most common questions I get from people when I talk about the Boring Company is how do you keep it from flooding?
Yeah, so it's really a civil engineering question. So you'll notice the top of the tunnel here is at a bit of a high point. So the water kind of, generally speaking, goes off to the side, but certainly there's, if you get a good amount of rain, some can start to go down the ramp. A little hard to see from here, but there is a trench drain at the top of each ramp, and we can get out and kind of take a look, but a small trench drain at the top of each ramp. And then at the bottom, right before you enter the tunnel, there's a larger trench drain, and that captures the vast majority of any other water that would roll down the ramp to get in. So the cars can track some water in and that kind of thing, but never enough to present a serious, threat or danger.
Very cool.
Primarily a civil engineering solution.
All right, and this is the original cutter head from the Godot. Yep. And that was a purchased tunnel boring machine, the first one that the Boring Company used, and kind of everything since the Proof Rock series, all of that has been kind of inspired by this original cutter head.
Yep.
And TBM.
Fair to say.
Now, when I was talking to Matt about the Boring Company and the future sites, one of the things I found was very interesting is that currently the Sphere is not part of that expanded service that the Boring Company and the Loop will serve. However, that is subject to change. Normally when the Boring Company sets out their routes, they work with the property owners, and then there's kind of a give and take between the two to determine where that service tunnel location might be and how that would work with the property and the utilities, the easements, and sort of those kinds of things. Right now the Sphere does not have that, but it's most likely because this is a relatively new construction, and it is something that they're going to continue to be working with this company. And sometime in the future, we're probably going to see that the Las Vegas Loop will come here as well. So it's just a continuing kind of process that the Boring Company is going through as they continue to dig more of those tunnels and connect much more of the city over the next few years.
So that's what it's like to spend a day here in Las Vegas and also tour around with the Boring Company, see what the Vegas Loop looks like behind the scenes and under the ground. And I hope that you found all of this informative and maybe helps you with your planning for your trip coming out, and also kind of give you an idea of what to expect in the future as more and more of the tunnel operations are completed and the entire Vegas loop extends through much of the city. Of course, make sure you hit the casinos as pretty much the standard thing to do here in Vegas, and go out onto the Strip and see the sights. Also, if you can, go outside the city. There's a lot more to see. But anyway, this was my day here at Las Vegas and a trip with the Boring Company.
All right, so we had a really great day looking around some of the operations and going out and driving to the tunnels and finding a little bit more about what's going on with the Boring Company and the loop here in Las Vegas. I just want to say thank you very much to Matt here for spending a couple of hours with me, showing me around, and just letting us all get a little bit more insight of what's going on out here. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Of course.
And good luck with all of the tunneling that you have ahead of you.
We got lots of work to do.
Yeah, you do.
Thanks for the time, and come take a ride.
Awesome. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of the Boring Company, the Las Vegas Convention Center loop, and the plans that are coming up for the loop here at Las Vegas. It's going to be a multi-year project. A lot of challenges ahead, but I think it's also going to be worthwhile once it's all completed. Just want to say again, thank you to the Boring Company. Thank you to Matt for an amazing tour, showing me around and allowing me to video a lot of it to be able to share with all of you. So anyway, until next time, thank you again for watching. I do appreciate it. And when you get a chance, come to Las Vegas. Try out the loop. I think you'll be impressed.